Hi, good evening, folks, and welcome to this week's edition of the Minority Report. I'm Marilyn David, your host, and I'm back again with you right into your homes, into your living rooms. I mean, just to have this time where we, as the Bible says, reason together. And, you know, this week is no different. Again, quite a lot happening right here in Tobago. And it's important for each and every one of us to be an active part of the conversations that are taking place that essentially determine eventually the trajectory of the island, where we go, whether it's politically, economically, socially, as the case may be. And so this evening we want to continue with those conversations, a lot of different areas that we're going to be touching on, and I'm going to be having some guests in studio with me as we get along with the program, where we begin those conversations and where we have meaningful engagements. However, before we actually get into the meat of this evening's program, those of you who are looking at us on various platforms, let me make it clear, you can see us on the Tobago Updates website. You can find us on the Tobago Updates YouTube channel, or you can log on to the Tobago Updates Facebook page. Yes, the Facebook page, and you can engage with us on the live. Feel free to share your comments. Feel free to share your ideas. Take an active part in the discussions that we are having. I always urge you to be respectful in your comments, in those statements that you are making. The Minority Report has even grown into a family program. So we know that children are sitting and they're looking on at us. There's a high educational element to the Minority Report, and so we always seek to meet each individual at their point of need. So let's be respectful in our various engagements and our statements. If you in fact want to call us, and this evening we are going to be opening the lines at various parts of the program, you can do so on 284-6597. That's 284-6597. Feel free not just to call, but even if you have information that you want to share with us, you can also do so. That number is also available on WhatsApp. So you can share any content. If you have a picture, if you have a statement, you have a video, and you want to get it to us on the program, send it to 284-6597. And we will ensure that whatever the issue is, we can have it properly and adequately ventilated on the program and speak to the authorities or the powers that be, so that we can have whatever your issue may be rectified in a timely manner. And I will say that from time to time, this avenue has in fact worked. We have seen oftentimes when we call out this administration via this method, within a matter of days, they sometimes respond to the particular need, depending on the community that it is in. So feel free to send us your information on 284-6597. Based on our discussions this evening as well, we are going to be having our lines open because we want to also encourage active participation from you, the public, on the various topics that we are going to be advancing in conversation as the program unfolds. So, I mean, really looking forward to an engaging program with you this evening. I must also say, you know, there's always the element of gratefulness. I want to thank our viewers, for those of you who have consistently supported the Minority Report from the day that we began airing on Tobago Updates Network. You have been there. You've not just supported by logging into the program, but many of you have called, you've messaged, you've offered prayers, and that is something that indeed has been totally appreciated. So I know I can safely say on behalf of the minority leader and the minority counselor, we truly appreciate the support that we have received, not just from all of Tobago, but even elements in Trinidad, Tobagonians in Trinidad, the diaspora. We are bombarded at times with messages talking about the program and the impact that it has indeed had on the lives of many and the information that continues to be shared and broadcast through this means. So I really want to say we truly appreciate you, and we do in fact look forward to your continued support. This is not the end of the journey, but it's only the beginning. The support is expected to continue in various manners, but all in all, we know that at the end of it all, it is for the benefit and the good of all of Tobago. So folks, let me ask you to share the live. Let me tell you to settle yourself, pop some corn, sit down, get something to drink, call your friend, call your neighbor, get those kids involved. We're going to take a short break, pay some bills, and when we get back, we're going to head into this evening's program.
Residents, businesses, and churches within Scarborough. The Tobago Carnival 2024 Committee is inviting you to the Tobago Carnival Public Postmortem. Join us at Shore Park Complex on November 20th, 2024 at 5 p.m. We want to hear from you. For further information, please contact welcometobago@gmail.com or 639-4441.
Are you thinking about spending Christmas in Tobago? Well, call us at Thorns Place. We are located at the hills of Scarborough, 5 minutes away from the port, with rooms starting at 200 TT. Call us now at 745-7306 or 682-8676. Follow us on Facebook. Check us out on Instagram. Message us on WhatsApp at Thorns Place. Your Christmas in Tobago will be even more special.
Cafe, the buffet restaurant that specializes in all your tasty local dishes. For breakfast and for lunch. Breakfast includes coconut bake and sada roti, served with chokers, bull joil, and sausages in tomato sauce. Not forgetting beef and cheese pies, shepherd's pie, macaroni pie, and rice in various styles. Meat served in a variety of flavors, garden salads, and pasta salads. All this accompanied by fruit juices, coconut water, your choice of a great combination to appease your taste buds. So call us today to order, as we are here to accommodate your busy schedules or if you are having a cooking day off. Tobago Glass Supplies has been a leading name for over 37 years in the glass and aluminum market in Tobago. We provide an extensive range of high-quality, innovative aluminum and glass products for commercial and residential use. Competitive prices with superior and professional services by committed employees who are guided by rigid quality standards. Tobago Glass Supplies specializes in the manufacture and installation of glass and aluminum products that are essential to today's homeowners and the business environment. We are engaged in marketing, sales, and installation of a variety of products. These ranges from windows and doors to necessities such as mirrors for homes and vehicles, designed and manufactured in-house or imported.
Good morning, put a smile on your
Well, folks, we are back, and I am indeed excited to get on with the program. As I do so, I want to introduce with me this evening the panel, and we are still filling out, but those who are here definitely going to take the show to our next level. So first, let me welcome the minority leader back to I mean, you were here in person yet since after your trip?
No, this is my first time in,
good.
so let me
welcome back.
Let me say good evening to you, Marilyn, to Justin, and to all of our viewers, listeners, both here online and with tuning at some point. We wish all the men as well Happy International Men's Day. Happy International Men's Day to you, Marilyn and Justin.
Thank you very much. Yes, and joining us for the first time in studio on the Minority Report, we have a young man that I know all at the People's National Movement, very proud of, especially here in Tobago, Mr. Justin John. I'll run out of accolades and titles because Justin sits on the Tobago Council's Executive Labor Relations Officer. He is also the West Youth League Chairman. He is also the PRO on the National Youth League. Getting tired just reading out. I left out anything in terms of the party involvement yet?
Put on a crystal ball and then you will see what the future holds.
always remember the party groups. Youth officer of the party group number one.
Yes, youth officer of the party group. And Justin is also in the field of law. I know that that is something that we see many of our young people leaning towards. And I know you're going to, before the end of the program, you'll have some advice for those who are a little bit behind in terms of their studies and so on. But welcome, Justin, to the program. Say hello to Tobago.
So thank you so much, Marilyn, for welcoming me to the Minority Report. Happy International Men's Day to all. I want to say that it is such a joy to be a man. You stand proud, you hold things together, you hold your family together. And I think that we have two great examples of what a Tobagonian man is supposed to be here on the panel. And I think we are expecting another one. Yeah. So thank you so much for having me. And I look forward to sharing my expertise.
Very well. So, and again, let me say it, Happy International Men's Day to all men. Tobago, Trinidad and Tobago, globally. That is an ongoing discussion. We see today so much happening in terms of the role of men. Even to use the word role has become somewhat of a taboo. But as we hear persons talk about it and talk about what we're getting into the future, it is difficult to forget the old school, and I know minority leader, you could relate to this a lot, the old school concept of what you saw as a man and your father, your uncle, your big brother, that kind of thing, and the value that it brought, where every man in the household could correct the younger one and hold you to account and that kind of thing. Minority leader, share a bit in terms of your experience and with us all here. What do you understand and how do you think it feels, and especially in today's society, being a man?
Well, for me, I was very privileged because I grew up in an extended family. So you had not just your brother, your father, but you had your grandfather, you had your uncles, you had your cousins, because I even had an uncle who adopted me as his own son, So you really had a number of examples to lean on and guidance, and you, in that situation, as you rightfully said, so if you missed one place, there was the uncle to pull you up, or your grandfather, or your elder brother, and so it was a privilege for me to benefit from that. And then as well, I also grew up in a big family in terms of having a number of smaller brothers as well. So I also took the responsibility as well to also, just as how I was able to benefit from having that guidance from my elder cousins, brothers, my brother, uncles, father, and everybody else, I was able to pass that on to my brothers as well. So you see, I grew up in a very closely knit, family, one yard, one big yard. So, everybody there. And, even as you grew up as a younger one amongst the bigger ones, the stories they would tell kind of prepares you for all that life has to throw at you. So, and I think when I look back, I think that is something that perhaps more outside of the rural areas, you're not getting that kind of community, extended family. We now move to the nuclear family, or more like you might have a single parent kind of thing. But before, even if you were a single parent, you still had the support of all the other family members around. True. So that is something that I remember fondly. And, as a man, it is really important to have that masculine influence in your life. I think that was important for me.
Justin, you're the youngest here. share with us your experience coming into manhood. I think you are the most recent entered.
Yes, I am. Well, I would say that the responsibility has always been thrust upon me. From young in primary school, go straight up into secondary, and I think I've always latched onto it. But you need certain role models in your life to know how to manage that and manage manhood. I come from an extended family, but my household is majority woman. And I had my dad and my grandfather and my uncle. Those were my 3 pillars. Yeah. So every time I needed some advice, well, uncle, I dealing with this. Tell me what to do. So that's when I understood the importance of, as you say, the extended family. I appreciate that setting in Trinidad and Tobago. I don't think I know others have the single parent, and that's a lot to deal with. But when you have that extended family, you could always rely on those around you. And the men around me were strong pillars. And I think I attribute a lot to them for the man that I became and, well, will continue to become. Yeah.
Certainly, what Justin didn't tell us, the advice he went for. No. He get his first banker. You want to know how?
It would be a man to tell you how to deal with that.
That's true.
No, and that is important, even in terms of understanding how you treat with those things are important because, as men, we really, sometimes it is a conflicting position, and it's only with the right guidance. Not everybody have that privilege of being able to learn how to deal with disappointment,
and we see that a lot.
That
we see the results of that.
We continue to inculcate that, and the fact that Justin also mentioned that he would go to his uncles, his grandfather, his father for advice is something, we must encourage men to always feel free to talk about issues. Because yes, we'll get together for a drink, we'll get together for everything. And, sometimes you're there with your partners going through hell, but you have so much pride that in that moment, you would have the drink, but you would not have the conversation. And, it's something I would like to encourage men for us to always have some kind of safe space or safe persons that you can vent, and because we just go through a lot and sometimes we go through it alone. And I believe it's always good to have somebody you can talk to.
And minority leader, as you mentioned, that again, it's vital that forum be created. And what came to mind immediately is our Member of Parliament for Tobago West, in her capacity as sports minister, creating the Empower Forum and so on. And we saw a number of those forums where young men were actually brought to the conversation table from all walks of life, and the conversations were had. that was in a structured environment. But we could do that in every community. The same way as we gather on the blocks, the same way you come out, you play small goal, you play a little cricket, you bounce some ball.
Or when you go to the barber shop.
Yeah.
Oh, the barber shop.
Hey,
Everybody
barber
has a
shop.
conversation after not a barber shop.
Well, I think the thing with the barber shop, you learn the hard way. Because men, sometimes it don't be easy on you.
And, Marilyn, you touched on which the minister must be commended for vision and a foresight. And we need more of that filtering into the communities, because in the absence of that, what you are having, because you see, wherever there's a leadership vacuum, persons, whether good or bad, would always occupy it.
Yep.
And therefore, we need as many positive influence and influencers in those spaces, because where that is absent, the negative influencers will take charge. And that's why you see in some communities, the gang leaders are taking over, because young men are looking for guidance. And so we really need to have more of those structured kind of interventions in the communities, at the level of the families as well, and where we can really provide that buffer so that we can continue to provide the young men, especially, with the level of guidance, the level of help, lifestyle skills.
Yep.
Because if we don't do that, the reality is we stand to lose a lot of our young men.
And as much as, these people, we often hear the statement that, the woman is the backbone of the family. Without the man, there's no family coming into existence in the first place. So, we really need to do a lot more to preserve the masculinity, to preserve manhood. And Justin used a very, very important word as he began his contribution: responsibility. One of the hallmarks of really stepping into your role as a man is being able to stand up to your responsibilities. And that is something that we will continue to trust, that not just the Member of Parliament, but that we all get on board with initiatives like that.
One of my vision is really, and you see, the block is an intrinsic part of the community. So you don't destroy the block. The block would always exist. How can we create programs that involve the block rather than exclude the block? Because that is where the young men would congregate naturally. So how do we, and I think, as policymakers, persons involved, it is now we need to really get creative in how we are able to fashion programs right on the block, and be able to have the interventions right there, the kind of guidance, the life skills and everything right on the block, and keep the young men there engaged on the block, rather than have them idle on the block.
That's true. Because it's all about the engagement.
Is it correct?
Because you talked about the creativity as well. I think that a lot of our programs, going back to our minister, a lot of the programs that we see coming from the ministry aren't the typical empowerment segments. They engage you in the discussions. And I remember attending one, and it felt a bit emotional, because people, for the first time, I saw young men willing to share. That type of sharing only comes once again on the block, because you have that comfort. You just walk out, there's a safe space. So how do we build around those safe spaces, but then, push the message of, empowering one another, and building your community with one another.
You're so correct. And because on the block there, you have musicians, you have DJs, you have everybody. It's a melting pot. And if you're able now to find a creative way to make the block a place of empowerment, male empowerment, male mentorship, male self-actualization, then it would really help us in modeling and fashioning the kind of men we want that are productive within the Tobago space, Trinidad and Tobago space.
I think one thing that definitely, and I remember seeing this a lot growing up, and I think it's something that we've lost out on even on that block concept. The whole empowerment and assisting one another. You building a house, everybody come together and we say we go in like Saturday and we cast and we mix and so on. That was how communities were built long ago.
And you know, what I recall about that as well, it also pushed one another to be better.
Yes.
And more, you know, ambitious, because when, you know, Marilyn building a house and we went and helped Marilyn, you now want to push yourself to also build a house.
Yeah.
And when Marilyn buys a car, and it's not envy or jealousy, but it's you now wanting to be to also achieve things. And it's so you're able to push one another to greatness, to you know, and rather than it's just a situation where we all just sit there
selfishly and
not doing any, you know, wasting time. So we really have to make the block a place of empowerment, as I said, and you know, I think as we do that, we will build, you know,
definitely see the benefits of that.
See the benefits of that.
But I'll also add this, even with the programs that we have, I think that we need to remember not to forget persons and not to forget the men, because not to bring down any other program. You know, there would always be that focus on, you know, pushing, you know, women into power and giving you those skills. But I think I learned my skills in terms of being in the space that I'm in from watching. But to say it have the programs that would also, you know, build us up. You know, it's a little controversial to say sometimes, but you have to be able to give the young men the opportunity and the attention they need, because it's the same attention that they're getting from, you know, gang leader here, the same attention again. And
because
and it's
working very
we
well.
all like attention, and sometimes you're so correct. Sometimes in ensuring that we support our women and other groups, we sometimes forget that the men also need attention and so, because even when you look sometimes, because I worked in the division of health, wellness and family development, and when you talk gender affairs and gender unit, sometimes persons, it sometimes comes across as if it is only to cater
for women,
to treat with what would have been the disparity in between men and women for some time. So it is like the gender unit is simply there trying to make up and create a gender balance rather than catering to the different needs of both, you know, both.
Holistic, all across the board.
In a holistic way. And as you rightfully say, in some instances, it could come across as you, in trying to treat with one, you kind of neglect the other. And I think, as you rightfully say, so it is important as we go forward, we ensure that it's gender inclusive in as much as we do.
Every time. And I mean, as we are on that, and I just want to say hello to a number of our women contingent in Trinidad right now for the Women in Parliament, I think, conference.
Women Leadership,
Women in Leadership Conference under the auspices, I think, of Minister Webster Roy and her ministry. A number of our women in the party as well. Senator London, the General Secretary, the Lady Vice Chair, a number of our women down there as well, as we speak, wrapping up in that particular conference. So saying hello. I also want to say hello to the and I want to get this right, Tamar Moss, the National Vice Chairman of the PLP of Bahamas, that's the Bahamian ruling party.
Okay.
She's actually logged on and messaging here on the live.
Awesome.
Hi, good evening, Tama, and welcome to the Minority Report. The Minority Report building relationships across the seas, man.
And of course, we want to commend our minister in the office of the Prime Minister as well, Honorable Ayanna Webster Roy, for the work she has been doing for both in terms of gender affairs and leading the charge when it comes to ensuring there's equity, equality, and you know, placing gender issues on the front burner in Trinidad and Tobago.
Yeah.
You know, we are always proud of her representation and the programs as well that she ensures that whether it is national, she also ensures that it is available to Tobagoans. And this training, this exposure is one such example where we see a number of Tobagoans included benefiting from this very important resource of women in politics leadership, being exposed to high-level training and preparation.
Kudos to the minister. As minority leader, just to shift gears a bit, again, you're talking about exposure and you're talking about advancement and that kind of thing. And the conversation that is on everybody's lips now is autonomy. Some lips have a very sensible aspect of that version. Other lips are just trying to push false narratives that are baseless, and the Minority Report continues to provide that platform where we get the facts and we get the information in as raw a manner as possible. Minority Leader, you are fresh off a live that I know sent waves, shock waves if I must say, throughout both Tobago and Trinidad, as many persons. It sparked a number of conversations. I want you to take us into that live, some of the important elements, and let's begin to really continue unfolding this conversation about autonomy.
Sure. So, but before I just wanted to close off the men's conversation by really commending all the men who have taken leadership roles in ensuring that, you know, the issues of men stay alive and real on the lips and minds of everyone, and providing that support, because there are a number of men requires whether it's financial support, emotional support, psychological support, social support, you know, spiritual support. And sometimes, you know, society believe that a man is strong, he can do it on his own, and therefore I want to commend, you know, men like Michael Stewart and Jai Melville, not to single out anyone, but for the work they've been doing in Tobago. You have Mr. Fields in Trinidad with the single men fathers who providing that support. So these men who have taken it upon themselves to really create the groups and the spaces and the networking to afford other men an opportunity to have some kind of relief and recognition. I really also, on this day, International Men's Day, want to commend them, big them up, and thank them for their service as well.
Yeah, indeed, definitely. So into our conversation.
But I know this man.
That's why everybody has been waiting on for us to continue that conversation. A lot of people saying that you've been educating them, eh?
Yes, so the conversation is an important conversation, and you know, all conversations lead to autonomy. So whether we talk about contracts that are being given out and where it's going and all of that, that too is autonomy. So you can't have people telling you it's all or nothing, and then when you look at their very actions, they are doing quite the opposite. It's quite contrary to what they're preaching, because you would think, if I am saying that we want to create a Tobago where we are autonomous and doing everything for ourselves and being, then you will build capacity from now. And it means that what is to be done in Tobago and what can be done by Tobagonians, you would give them the opportunity to do it, understanding that if we get autonomy, there will be even a greater call for them to do more. And you have not seen any action or intervention that suggests that they are interested in building the Tobagonian. What they are doing, they are interested in carrying narratives for their own political objectives. But when you look at the actions. The actions does not suggest a person or a people or a party that is interested in making the Tobagonian an autonomous person, a person with the capacity to actually carry about their own, do the things that they need to do to develop themselves. So when we looked at the whole question of autonomy, the PNM's position is a very reasoned position. It is saying that autonomy has been the dream of self-government for Tobago is one that has been a dream of many Tobagonians gone by. And even the greatest of Tobagonians have recognized it is a journey. It has to start somewhere, and it has, for us to get to the end point, we have to continue.
Yeah.
So you had in 1980 was able to have a milestone which created the Tobago House of Assembly. And moving from there, in 1996, you had a situation where we were able to improve on what that Tobago House Assembly is. And here it is again. We now have an opportunity not just to improve, but significantly advance what that Tobago House of Assembly can become. And in advancing it, it gives us a number of things that we currently do not have. One is a guaranteed budget that we have all agreed a percentage that is reasonable to start Tobago's advancement. Because the Chief Secretary provided a budget that was 5.9%. And in this arrangement, you are getting a 6.8% guaranteed percentage minimum, which is over $900 million more than what the Chief Secretary was asking for in his current budget request.
Correct.
So it means, therefore, that right away you are getting additional sums for development. It also means that you are able now, for the first time, to legislate over matters that are critical to the day-to-day advancement of and governance of Tobago. You are able to treat with one of your most fundamental and one of your most important sectors, tourism.
Yeah.
So the current arrangement would allow you to make laws that are tourism related, whether it be marine, treating with your maritime space down at Buku Reef or anywhere else. You can treat with that. If you want to treat with your sites and attractions by putting in different laws. For example, I was in Cancun, and there's a law that says if you only even break as much a piece of coral, there's a fine for over 5,000 US. So it means nobody can go onto your marine space and destroy, tamper in any way, else it becomes a fine. And that creates a level of management and a level of care and preservation as well. So the point is, you're now able to actually make laws that are enforceable in Tobago. And then you have the other provisions where you are able to borrow without the central government without the Minister of Finance reasonably withholding. So it says he has to have a very good reason as to say why in this instance you may not be able to borrow. And it could be whether if the country is in a serious dire financial position, then perhaps he may say, well, you may not be able to borrow at this time. And so that clause is just there to protect the national situation. But it has to be a very good reason for him to deny you the ability to borrow. Then you can invest now for the first time, you can actually have investment portfolio as the THA. So you can, right away that creates a new revenue stream for you. Because when you decide, okay, if we're now getting a windfall, we're having additional sums coming in, I can take 200 million and put it into some kind of couple investment portfolio held by the central bank, and that would earn interest, and right away Tobago would be able to get additional revenue sums coming in. And you can say that would be for our housing portfolio. So that investment and those bonds will now fund our housing. And so the arrangement we are saying is very reasonable, and it is reasonable, especially once your intention is to stay in a union. And I keep referring to a husband and a wife. If my intention is to stay with my wife, I'm not going to sign no prenup, because a prenup prepares you for the exit.
Yes.
For breakup.
Right? Because you are preparing yourself to leave.
Yeah.
But if your intention is for us to stay together, then the arrangement and the discussions would be one of compromise as to what we can agree on at this time that does not affect the union. And therefore, when you look at the conversation, this is why the motion I took to the House said, what we have is and we all agreed it was a good starting point. If there's any area that requires some tweaking or so, let us sit down as both the Tobago representatives of the Tobago people, and we have the Parliament representing the country Trinidad and Tobago, all of us representatives of people, understanding what the people are saying, and we can have the conversations there and then, make the adjustments, have the agreement, and Tobago will once and for all get this advance arrangement. But on the other side, you have the Chief Secretary and his minions saying, no, it's all or nothing. If we cannot have this thing that looks like secession, then we don't want it. So they are saying and here's their position. So give us everything that look like independence, including join a line between Trinidad and Tobago, including saying that we could make any kind of law we want, even if it conflicts with national law. So in Tobago, we could say, for instance, we could ban something in Tobago, and it at the national level it lawful. And that creates a whole kind of because how do you determine when it applies and when it doesn't apply? So you have to make sure, because we are a subset and is devolved the power, then the higher being, which is a national, the Trinidad and Tobago law, will always, in that situation, will take precedent. But they don't want to, they want a situation where don't tell me nothing. So give us this, and don't tell us nothing at all, don't have no involvement, just let we have the space, and let we do our own thing. But you're in a union, you're in a relationship, and there's a relationship where there's a national arrangement, and then you have the local Tobago arrangement. So this is where we are, a very reasoned position. And I think right-thinking, reasonable Tobagonians would understand that if Robinson understood that he had to compromise, and he compromised for the benefit of Tobago, so we could have gotten the Tobago House of Assembly, Robinson and Murray did that. And if Hochoy Charles himself had to do it in 1996, because he was the Chief Secretary, well, he became the Chief Secretary, but he was part of that NAR arrangement that went into governance with UNC. Remember that 17-7?
Yeah. Right.
And he also, and just to back up, if you recall, Justin, you might have been younger than, well, not here. You probably would not have been around at that time. But in 1986, the NER, through their coalition arrangement, won that general election 33-3, which gave the Robinson-led administration at that time, he was Prime Minister, it gave them a super majority. Any law could have passed in that time. And remember, you came out from a situation where he could have changed anything in the Constitution. Came out from a situation where in 1980, he had this utopian view of what autonomy should have been. So if that was the situation, then the perfect opportunity, and when you talking about party giving Tobago something, the perfect opportunity for Tobago to get this utopian sense of all or nothing would have been at that in 1986, where the Robinson-led NER government was ushered in with an overwhelming majority that could have passed any law or changed any constitutional arrangement, and it didn't happen. So they came to 1996. Also, again, they had to also compromise, and you had the amendments of 1996. And here we are again, where there's an advanced position that would take us to an advanced place. And the reasonable approach we are saying as a People's National Movement is for us to accept this arrangement. If there are changes, any area that requires, that you really believe need a little beef up, then have the discussions in the first instance. And if it finds favor with the majority of parliamentarians, then the amendment would be made and we go forward. But to take the position that it is all or nothing, the Chief Secretary has already said there are 4 non-negotiables, and I now understand why he's going to WTM every year and coming back blank. Because any good negotiator would know that yes, you put your best foot forward on the table, your best position, but you are prepared to compromise and negotiate. Take some, give some, and till you all find a position that you could live with.
Exactly. So, Minority Leader, we were having a conversation earlier, and now that you brought up the 4 areas that the Chief Secretary seems this seems to be his position only, because clearly, as he would have indicated, the People's National Movement has a position on autonomy, but we are not sure that this administration has any one position, because we keep hearing a number of things. But we had a discussion earlier with respect to the nautical miles, and a lot of people are asking that particular question. What is the issue with being granted 11 instead of 12? You gave a bit of history on that.
All right, and then I really want to hear Justin and his youthful perspective on this matter, because it's always good to hear fresh perspectives that are not really tainted by the historical experiences. So, in terms, you see, these people are changing and moving the goalposts every day as you go along. So, they are trying to tell Tobagonians that the position Tobago took in the bills is that they wanted, and they even went to say, the PNM said they wanted 200 nautical miles. Absolutely untrue. Absolute hogwash. The position that was approved and transmitted to the government of Trinidad and Tobago, and it is there for everybody. There's a 2016 Tobago Constitution Amendment Bill that was approved in the Tobago House of Assembly and transmitted, and you would see there the position was requesting that Tobago be defined, including all the islands, St. Giles, Goat Island, etc. I think it says sea from basically from the line, the shoreline.
The low water.
The lower waters. So it have the legal terminology, but basically from the shoreline outwards to 12 nautical miles. And that was, so I want everybody to understand what Tobago requested was 12 nautical miles, which would have been an improvement on what currently exists, which is 6 nautical miles. What was deliberated upon and even agreed and suggested, there's a paper. When you look at the bills, there are submissions. And the submissions from Mr. Hotroy Charles himself was a submission that requested that consideration be given, because I think when the first draft of the amendments came out, they really did not put a defined amount. And in having the consultations, a number of persons would have suggested that we should at least have an established amount, and Mr. Charles suggested 11 nautical miles. Those suggestions were adopted and included, and the bills currently affords Tobago administrative responsibility upwards to 11 nautical miles.
So that recommendation came from Mr. Hotroy Charles to the committee.
So it was amongst other persons, because the bills had 12. When the first draft was made, they didn't really define, they didn't put anything, and it could have been an oversight. So in having the follow-up conversations, the recommendation was, well, 11 nautical miles, and that was adopted. So the conversation about Tobago not be, and I remember clearly, and I had to correct the Deputy Chief Secretary when she said, well, they take out the miles from the thing and give Tobago 0 nautical miles. I'm saying, what bill are you looking at?
Misleading.
Look it right here, 11 nautical miles. So now that we pointed out that is 11 nautical miles, they have changed the conversation. So it's no longer about having, which is more than the 6. They're now trying to tell you, well, look in the 2013 bill. All they were saying 200 nautical miles. So all they go back to that. But Tobago would have advanced from that position already. And there's another conversation they're having, which I would not spend too much time on. But this whole thing about this 2013 bill by AMPLIA Bissessa and trying to advance that to Tobagonians as something better than this. The first thing that makes this makes it a no-go is the fact that the process was a process that cannot compare to this process. The process of Mrs. Bissessa was a most disrespectful, dishonorable, and despicable process in the first place to start with, which was counterproductive to autonomy because it was disrespectful to the very institution that is the THA. Here it is, the THA had a process, went around, consult with all of Tobago, and in consulting with all of Tobago came to a position. And when they went to the House, approve a bill and sent it, that was ignored completely. And out of the blue, Mrs. Bissessa, collaborating with couple Judases from Tobago, decided to prepare their very own that had absolutely no input from Tobago, no consultation, and place that as an option for Tobagonians 1 week before general elections. And these jokers, these upstarts who have no interest in politics before 2017, is coming to tell Tobagonians that this is something that they should accept as superior and better to a process where all of Tobago got an opportunity, including many of them. Many of them were at the consultations and whatever they wanted, they had an opportunity to make their case and have it in there. And the fact that if they had things that they wanted and it didn't make its way in there is because it didn't meet majority consensus. So it means that whatever they suggested and didn't get there is because when you had that final day up in Signal Hill, where all the proposals were put to a vote and a resolution, and there you had the consensus, and what was approved was what the majority would have agreed upon. And that is how you treat with a democratic process. And therefore, for them to push that undemocratic bill and advance it as something good for Tobago tells me they don't love Tobago, they don't know about Tobago, and they don't care about Tobago.
I want to bring Justin in at this point. Justin, apart from sharing with us your view as a young person, given your legal background and otherwise, I know we also have an initiative coming on Sunday that's going to be on the heels of this same discussion. And as I introduce Justin into the conversation this evening, I want to put this out there. I especially to the administration, when we put young people on a platform to speak, this is the type of representation we're talking about. Somebody who is informed, somebody who understands what they're saying. So please refrain from putting young people in positions to speak to members of communities who are baseless and have absolutely no reference points. They have no information to share except simply speaking on feelings. Justin.
So I like that the minority leader brought up the nautical miles discussion, because I kept seeing that in every forum for discourse. I have a simple task. I like to bring things down very simple. When you look at the distance between the port of Scarborough to the port of Port of Spain, I did a simple map check. It was just saying 92 miles. I'm subject to correction, right? Only 92 miles.
Only 92.
Right. So when I heard the 200 mile nautical mile discussion, I was very confused because then it was saying that we were going into the landmass of Trinidad. So that is far from what was going to happen.
Exactly.
Now, there's also the law of the sea. There are certain international conventions that affect this agreement. We are an
Archipelago. Yeah.
Sorry about that.
No, yeah.
So
Exactly.
that
Discourse.
affects our stance in the international community, and that also affects where our borders, our EEZ, what we are able to fish and things like that. I'm sure a lot of Tobagonians know about the Barbados, the flying fish instance. That should be your baseline for any research that you have to do on it, because when you change when you give Tobago a definition now, and you're saying that you're going 100 miles, you're going how much ever miles you want to go, nautical miles, you then change the makeup of the nation, and we are maintaining that we are a unitary state. I was very thankful that Tobagonians came forward in the consultations and made it clear we want to stay a unitary state.
Correct.
Equal status and all those things, but a unitary state is what is the best move forward. And you see that in a lot of discourses with other Caribbean islands with a similar yet different makeup. You rely on each other, you build each other, and that's what Trinidad and Tobago has done. And as it goes to the legislative side now, that is my passion. When it comes to reading this report, I go to the Tobago legislature first, because I remember Minority Leader, we had a conversation a few years back, and it was going towards what kind of legal professional, a young legal professional, look forward to in the political space. You would always think, yes, Attorney General, you know, if you want to get into legislative drafting and things like that. But when you look at Tobago has had a legislature in the past.
Yes.
The protections around not owning a beach, the maintenance of the main ridge, all of these come from Tobago having its own legislature. You know, it was colonial times, so you would have sent the bills and things like that. So we now are given the opportunity to formulate our own bills. Here it says a Secretary of Legal Affairs.
Yeah.
I find that we can make it. That's one of my qualms with it. And as you said, the legislative process allows you to have discussions and put forward amendments. And I like the motion because you're taking the Tobago House of Assembly, the members of the House, and you're saying, let's go down. I'm sure everyone has their own thoughts on what should change, what should be. If you were to put this on a full page, you could probably see all the scratches that I might have. But there are areas that we have. So let's look at the responsibility, for instance, right? Exclusive administrative jurisdiction in Tobago. That is a very specific. When you hear exclusive, that's it. You have authority over that. No. Total authority. And I like the fact that if you compare the proposed Tobago Island Bill to the current Tobago House of Assembly Bill, the Schedule 1 in that bill and the current Schedule 5, it's so much longer.
Yeah, chalk and cheese.
Yeah. Like,
more responsibility.
I'm positive, like, my pages, when you compare them, you keep going for the Tobago Island Bill. And it's like, you are now being trusted with your responsibility. You see, main team, responsibility. You're going to be able to take charge and manage your affairs. And I like that we even specify something as It's not small, it's very big. We properly define and state youth affairs, or it might be youth development. I can't remember the exact term, but youth is mentioned here because Tobagonian youths are not, we are Trinbagonian youths, but we have our own issues. And a lot of the programs that were built up over the years under the PNM administration from 2001 up have been tailored to us. You don't see programs like that in Trinidad because they were made for the Tobagonian youth to empower us, to build our resumes, to, you know, give that capacity building in Tobago. And I appreciate the bill for giving something, some may say something small, but having that actual focus. Yes, we already have a division of youth affairs and things like that. I'm not saying that we don't do that now, but to properly state that that is a focus that you are mandated to do as a Tobago Island government, it takes it out of the park.
No, and Justin excellent as well in terms of breaking it down. Even, I mean, you could see the legal brilliance of him coming into play here. And as Marlon said, you know, this is what makes the PNM, in my view, this is what attracted me to the PNM, is the fact that it's not a party that just chose people into, but is really about building people, you know, and it allows you to grow, and it allows you to, it has such a structured and firm in terms of this institution that it really molds you. And you could coming out from the conversation from Justin. So it's not just you just come in and say, well, because I hear these people saying this, are running with this. You could see the research, independent research, and this is what the PNM have diverse views, because we all don't have to agree on the very essence of what this is. There could be within there, and that's why the motion as we brought to the House was one for us to really come together, understand we all may not have the same view of what the bills should entail. And therefore, if we have a view that is strong enough and we believe it important enough, we make the case and we try to convince. That is where you have negotiations. So you try to make the other parliamentarians recognize how important you believe this is and how fundamental a change and impactful it is, that it should be included. And you know, another thing that people don't understand, especially once the Constitution Amendment Bill itself is passed, that is the one that quasi 3/5, then the Tobago Island government you could renovate it. It's like a house. You could now paint it however, because you now have the legislative authority for these wide-ranging matters. So now you can amend and tweak and make it your own. So not everything there is cast in stone, as so to speak, you know. And even as you talk, Justin, about this Department of Legal Affairs, this is a whole new avenue, range of opportunity opened up for our Tobago legal luminaries. We now have our young people can now be part of the legislative process. Because for too long, we have best been going to the legislature and simply talking, debating motions with no real follow-up or action. Take, for instance, that very action. It is for that reason why the Chief Secretary could so bold-facedly disregard the motion and then come. He didn't even mention this. That was so disrespectful and dishonorable in my view. And a contempt of the House, and showing that you really don't care about the House, because if the that motion was unanimously supported, and when you returned, you didn't even acknowledge the motion. You came with an announcement about what. So you come like, you know, this authoritarian, and with this unilateral decision that this is my team, I choose, and this is how I going to go about it. So it's I. It's not about we. It's not about the collective. It's not about Tobago. It's more about one individual in pursuit of glory so that their name could be etched somewhere in history and to hell with everybody else. So Justin, thank you for that really brilliant breakdown. I look forward. I will make the time to be there because I know that those conversations that you will have.
There's much to come. There's much to come.
Yeah, I know it would be very informative. And although it's for youth people, feel free to come and ask young people and hear their views as well. So I'm encouraging everyone. Let us full up barcode.
This Sunday,
I would recommend non-alcoholic drinks, but but let us come out and support the young people of Tobago. This is open for all youth, right? Although it's a PNM hosting it, it is open for young people to come and have the discussions. This autonomy discussion is just as important to you as it is, and in fact, it might be even more important.
I think it is,
because what it means, just as how Gate was. I always say that God bless his soul, Mr. Patrick Manning. That decision to open the gate, create that gate program, was a defining moment in Trinidad and Tobago for young people, especially young black people like yourself and like me. I mean, I did not directly benefit because I studied abroad, but I know the number of young people that inspired to go on to tertiary education are now making waves across both in Trinidad and Tobago and across the globe. So I see this autonomy as a game changer for Tobagonians and for young Tobagonians especially.
Exactly. And we're going to take a short break again. Pay a few bills because, you know, the program popular now, so everybody wants to advertise during our time. So we're going to pay a few bills. And when we get back, we're going to hit the home stretch. So folks, we'll be right back. Stay logged on. We're not finished.
Mr. He's up.
Residents, businesses, and churches within Scarborough. The Tobago Carnival 2024 Committee is inviting you to the Tobago Carnival Public Postmortem. Join us at Shore Park Complex on November 20th, 2024 at 5 p.m. We want to hear from you. For further information, please contact welcometobago@gmail.com or 639-4441.
Are you thinking about spending Christmas in Tobago? Well, call us at Thorns Place. We are located at the hills of Scarborough, 5 minutes away from the port, with rooms starting at 200 TT. Call us now at 745-7306 or 682-8676. Follow us on Facebook. Check us out on Instagram. Message us on WhatsApp at Thorns Place. Your Christmas in Tobago will be even more special.
Laugh your way to cold, hard cash. We Christmasing with $1,200 cash from Flow. Sign up or upgrade to an everything you want plan and get everything you want. That new TV you've been eyeing, new curtains to brighten up your home, and yes, your ham and grog secured this year. Sign up or upgrade today and get $1,200 cold, hard cash to spend how you want, where you want. Limited time offer. Special conditions apply. Flow, inspired by you.
Cafe, the buffet restaurant that specializes in all your tasty local dishes. For breakfast and for lunch. Breakfast includes coconut bake and sada roti, served with chokers, bulge oil, and sausages in tomato sauce. Not forgetting beef and cheese pies, shepherd's pie, macaroni pie, and rice in various styles. Meat served in a variety of flavors, garden salads, and pasta salads. All this accompanied by fruit juices, coconut water, your choice of a great combination to appease your taste buds. So call us today to order, as we are here to accommodate your busy schedules or if you are having a cooking day off.
Good morning, good morning. Put a smile on your
Tobago Glass Supplies has been a leading name for over 37 years in the glass and aluminum market in Tobago. We provide an extensive range of high-quality, innovative aluminum and glass products for commercial and residential use. Competitive prices with superior and professional services by committed employees who are guided by rigid quality standards. Tobago Glass Supplies specializes in the manufacture and installation of glass and aluminum products that are essential to today's homeowners and the business environment. We are engaged in marketing, sales, and installation of a variety of products. These ranges from windows and doors to necessities such as mirrors for homes and vehicles, designed and manufactured in-house or imported.
And folks, we are back and we're going to head right into it, introducing new to the set and the panel this evening, Senator Lawrence Hislop. Welcome, sir.
Good evening, Maryland. Thank you for having me for 10 minutes. 10 minutes.
Well, we might get some leniency with the director.
10 minutes, 10 minutes. Let me roll 10 minutes.
So you came in right at the helm of the conversation on autonomy and some brilliant contribution coming there from Justin, getting a great legal perspective. A lot on narrative, and I told the minority leader this evening that these chief secretaries are coward, right? They're only hiding. They're not coming to the public really publicly, but in the little backdoor meetings, they're trying to convince persons that the bill not good, that it's not good. You have been part and parcel of even the debate and so on going on. You've made several television appearances. What is your position on even the four non-negotiables that we're hearing the Chief Secretary speaking about?
Well, I don't know life is about non-negotiables. I think when you're having conversations when you're having mature conversations, there is always room, there is always space for negotiation. And to enter a negotiation and say they're non-negotiable means that you've set your posture from a place that you don't want change. And I keep making the point over and over again. People are saying that we don't want to take little, we ain't taking little, we want all. And I'm asking myself, is it really a question of taking little and living long, or is it a question of common sense? Because my take is, I am not saying that what you desire doesn't make sense, you know. I'm not saying that, because that's your desire as an individual to get X, Y, Z. But the point I keep making is that we are at a point where we can get more than Act 40 of 1996. And why not take the more that you're getting, that is more than Act 40 of 1996. And then when you've gotten this, you have another position where you could then negotiate for additional. But you're saying that you don't want anything. You want no addition unless you're getting all, but you prefer to stay in a system that you're complaining about. And to me, that's not common sense. Because if you're complaining about A and you could get B, which is better than A, but really and truly you want Z. But if you could get B now and then still negotiate for Z down the road, because the Chief Secretary young, you know, Chief Secretary much younger than me. So the Chief Secretary could say, right, I could negotiate for another 20 years. By the time he's what, 40 plus, he could look for something else for Tobago. We ain't saying he gonna be in charge of Tobago.
Yes.
Right? He ain't gonna be in charge of Tobago 20 years down the road.
Correct.
But we're just saying that if you are
Anybody that day.
If you're here at point A, and what you're being offered at point B, or not even offered, what Tobagonians sat down
and agreed
and discussed. Now, what we agreed on is not everything that we're getting, but the majority of what we agreed on is what we're getting. So if you're getting the majority of what you agreed on, common sense will tell me in any negotiation, I'll take the majority that I'm getting. It's not everything that I want, you know. But I'm going to take it and run with it I gain more resources, I gain more authority, I gain more power. I get into run Tobago a little better from my perspective on the island. I could take it. Let me see how the 2020 bills operate. And if we aren't satisfied with how the 2020 bills operate, then we start our process again.
And the point is as well, can make a very important point, Lawrence. The thing is, even to operationalize it will take some time. Look, even this Act 40 of 1996, it is only in in 2017 some of the things that it allows for has been actually implemented.
Right.
So it is not like you are going to right away you get all these powers and you suddenly utilize all. It will take you some time to understand them, build them out, and therefore, as Lawrence is rightfully saying, if I'm getting almost all the things I want now,
what's the problem?
and I know it would take some time for me to get, it's like you get something new and you have to learn it. Like you get a new phone with a lot of features, and it would take you some time to fully so would you get a new phone today, the iPhone, and then the 16 come up, but you ain't learn all the features here. So it's about, it allows you some time to master this, while, as Lawrence said, you start to prepare yourself to come level again.
You know, a wise man said to me, the problem we have in a lot in life now is that a lot of people have common sense isn't common anymore. It is a rare sense.
Yeah.
It's not common sense, you know. It's rare sense. And it appears that we are taking a posture in Tobago that says,
well, some
right.
They are taking,
right, let me correct, thank you, minority leader. The administration is taking a posture that says, is either I get everything I want, or I don't want nothing, and to me that just speaks of greediness.
But
is either give me all I want to eat, or turn it over the bowl. And
as a right, and that's why I asked them in the house. So, okay, if the position is you don't want this, is it that you prefer to stay in your current state?
That
you are complaining and says inadequate. So it doesn't make more sense to at least capture what you have here. Because what is happening is a lot of selfishness in the space as well. Because I would tell you this, if you continue, if people take the time, in the conversations between that period 2014, 2016, and when they had the convention at Signal Hill, there were a number of positions that were put to a vote. And some of the positions people held individually did not make it there. For instance, they wanted a chief secretary that was elected. That didn't make it there. But you know what? Persons who have that interest to be an executive chief secretary is now trying to bring this back in the mix when that was never part of the Tobago Constitution Amendment Bill. So, and they're putting that now as a non-negotiable. There are things they're putting as non-negotiable that was never on the table.
But you know, minority leader. My whole position.
Self-aggrandizing.
There are persons who were very vocal at that convention in Signal.
Yes.
Very vocal, stated their positions, and were part of that process all those years ago. And I wonder sometimes, where are these people today?
No.
And I wonder, why are they so silent? When all that work and all that passion that was exuded at Signal Hill we're now at a position that we can receive greater autonomy, greater powers to govern the island, and some of these persons are silent, and I have to wonder, where has that passion gone? And so it appears as if it's the PNM alone in this fight, when really and truly there are persons who were at Signal Hill who voiced their opinion. And the question I'm asking, where are these people? Because the thing about it is that I did not see and you correct me if I'm wrong, but I did not see any of the persons who are currently in the administration. I could be wrong. I could be wrong, and if I'm subject to correction.
Yeah.
But I cannot remember any of the persons who are currently in the administration. I wasn't there, but I followed it. But I wasn't in Signal Hill. But I followed the process and was in favor of the process that came out of it. And I'm asking myself the question: the persons who are now in opposition to what is in the parliament, I can't remember seeing any of those persons at Signal Hill stating their position. And I'm not saying that they don't have a right to speak. They have a right to speak, but I'm calling on the persons who were at Signal Hill and who put forward their positions. I'm not going to call any names, but the videos circulate from time to time, and we see the persons who voiced their opinions. And we are asking those persons who are at Signal Hill, where are you in this fight now? Where is your voice now? And are we going to allow the work from 2007 to now to go down the drain?
Exactly.
And that's the appeal that I am making to Tobagonians. Are we at a point where we said, okay, fine, they bring them, we go throw away all the work because there are a few people who are more vocal than others and have taken the position that we don't want them unless we get everything. And I ask the Tobagonian, is that the common sense approach? Everything in life that we have done as people on this island, we are independent, very strong-minded people. And when we set our minds to do something, we do it. We grew up in an era where our parents didn't take mortgages to build houses. They build houses with so and cash and thing. And they go do the foundation now. And then when they get a little money again, they put on this and they put on that. And we can boast of some of the biggest houses in Trinidad and Tobago for people who operate in the middle class. And I'm saying that it's the same thing with even tuition before gate. You used to send this child, and when that one finishes, you go send the next one, and when that one finishes, send the next one. And you build on the legacy of what was left. So I'm asking, why are we at this point, as Tobagonians saying, which is counter to our culture? If I don't get all, I don't want none. When I know Tobagonians operate from this standpoint, I go take care, I go take care, I will take care until I get where I want. My house, I go put on a room, I go organize, get me windows, organize, get this, get that. And then when you're done, by the time 5 years pass, you swear a mansion, you build. When you take your time,
happy.
When you take your time and get where you want. And I don't understand why we are at this place where we don't want nothing unless we get in all.
You don't understand because it suits their politics.
Well, true.
And the other thing, as we close, what I noticed, and I've heard it said to me, because when I said it really and truly, there are some cowards, because there are a number of them who genuinely want secession.
But they're afraid to say.
But they are afraid for their political survival to say.
If they push that.
So therefore, they prefer to basically be an obstructionist to the union. And that is what it is. They are simply obstructing or strengthening the union that is Trinidad and Tobago, so that at some point it would give rise to their conversation for secession. That is what it, and we had a lot of them genuinely, if they are being honest, genuinely who are opposed to these bills, genuinely want secession, but they know it is not the popular consensus, because the Tobagonians have stated time and time again, clearly, emphatically, that they are for this union, they are for this unitary arrangement. But they have this philosophy of secession and separation, but are afraid to campaign on it. So they prefer to obstruct what is happening here.
One final question very quickly, and I want to throw this out at Justin. Senator Hislop would have indicated is either all or none, but constitutionally, is there ever going to be a time that you can actually say we've gotten all?
I don't think so. Our
Constitution is always
it's a living document.
That's right.
You hear it constantly, a living, breathing document. When you interpret it when they interpreted it in 2000 is not what it is in 2024.
Exactly.
And you see it every time. Even when they take cases to the Privy Council, for instance, it changes. It's only if it's saved. But in this case, it's not. So I dislike the all or nothing.
So you come another generation that might feel what we have is
that is exactly what I look forward to.
And that's why I said last question to Justin, because I wanted that perspective.
But that's why you provide the avenue for amendments in the parliament.
Exactly.
That's what amendments are for.
They ignore the process.
We can go on and on with this conversation here tonight. Again, I thank you for staying with us. We're going to thank the director for leniency. We're 6 minutes over the time already and counting. But again, he as well is in support of this level of education to the public. Education to the public. So I want to say thanks, Justin. Thanks for joining us tonight. I really trust that we'll be able to get you back as we continue this conversation on autonomy. And let's not forget the Youth Forum on Sunday at Barcode. At what time?
6 p.m.
6 p.m. All are invited.
But we also have the tongue meeting. Don't forget
we also have the tongue meeting.
Saturday evening, 6 p.m. as well, where persons are allowed to come ask their questions for clarity on the bills.
Every opportunity is being made available. Let's not allow it to be wasted. Guys, I want to thank you for a very, very interesting and informative session this evening. And next week we look forward to another one just like this. Folks, have a good evening. See you next week.